Good afternoon. Today we're going to go over all that you need to know about fall parent conferences. We're going to cover how to sign a parent for your conferences, what you need to go over during the conference, and just a few things about what you can expect on the actual day of your conferences. And we'll also cover just a few special situations. At the end of this, I'll be coming around to your department meetings to hopefully answer any questions you may have. So if anything comes up during this presentation, please just jot it down and make a note of it, and I hope to answer it when I come around. So signing up for the actual conferences. This past weekend, you received a document from me that is the one we've traditionally used to sign parents up for their conferences. You're supposed to make copies of those, add your own information, and give those to your advisees. Please note that any modifications you made to the date and times required administrative approval prior to making those changes. Our goal, as always, is to conference in person with 100% of our parents. We know that that can't always happen, but we still strive for that goal. When your advisees bring back that form, it's important that you confirm the date and time with them. You can do that by giving them a copy of the appointment letter that is linked in this presentation. If you don't get a sheet back from your students, you can call the parent, you can email them, or you can try any of the other numbers that are listed for the student in campus to let people know that you're trying to reach them for conferences. If you're not able to get a hold of anyone, or if the numbers are not working, you can use the link for the Student Support Services referral form to let Ms. Gay and myself know that there's an issue with the numbers in campus. If the parent does not speak English, you can email me with the times that you still have available for conferences, and I will try to schedule those for you. Please note that all of the documents have been provided to you in Spanish and English, so I'm referring to those students that you do not get a scheduled conference time for. You can also use Language Line if you do not get a hold of me, and the link for Language Line is also here in the presentation. If at this time you know for sure that you're going to need an interpreter for your conference, you can go ahead and complete the interpreter request form. That will let us know who to schedule and how many interpreters we're going to need. So it's good for us to have this information ahead of time. You will need to complete one form for each conference that you're requesting an interpreter for. So the purpose of our fall conferences is to review student academic progress, to go over their attendance, to make sure that all the contact information we have is up to date. We also want to go over some of the strengths or concerns we may have for the student, give some information out to parents, and also go over our Title I requirements. So academic progress. Really close to your conference time, you'll receive a folder with all of these documents. One of the documents you will receive is an up-to-date progress report. You will give that to the parent for them to keep. You can also at this time go over PSP if the student is failing any classes. Some parents are not aware of PSP or what days we run, or that they don't need to sign up for that. The student can just stay. So it's good information to give the parents. Also, if parents do not have a parent portal, this is a great time to go over that with them. I will give you 1 or 2 copies in your folders with instructions on how to sign up for portal. You can also direct them to the district's website that also has really good instructions on how to sign up. If they have any issues with signing up for portal, you can send them to the Parent Center where I can help them with that if I'm not currently conferencing with one of my advisees, or you can ask them to email me if they have any problems. Another handy thing you can do while you're with the parents is if a student is failing a class, you can go into the Schedule tab for that student and click on the little icon for what looks like maybe a notebook. And when you open that up, it gives you more detailed information on that student. And here you can see if the student is maybe missing assignments, turning stuff in late, or has a low summative or formative average. It just gives parents a little more information as to what's going on in that particular class. Attendance. This is also a great time to go over attendance issues with parents. If you look at situation number 1, it looks like that student perhaps was either marked incorrectly absent for 4th period or was skipping that day. So if the student is there, it's a good opportunity to ask the student what's going on with that class, what happened on that day. And if you look at situation number 2, where it looks like they were out for the entire day, You can ask the parent if that was an illness or a medical appointment, and if they can perhaps write an excuse note there while they're with you, or if they have a medical excuse that they forgot to turn in. If they have something to turn in, or if they can write an excuse while they're there with you, they can turn that in to Ms. McCoy. If you look at attendance and you see something like number 3, where the student is missing second period quite often, you can ask the student what's going on with that. In this case, for example, the student didn't realize his schedule had changed and had been attending the wrong class. So we straightened that out. So it's important to go over attendance and see any irregularities. Contact information. You will also receive a student summary report for each of your advisees. If you could please have parents or guardians go over this information to make sure that the phone numbers listed are correct, that their email is also correct, any changes that they need to make, if they can make those on the sheet, and if they make any changes, have them sign the bottom of the sheet and you can put that back into your folder to turn back in. If the change has to do with their address, they're going to need to provide some sort of proof or documentation, such as a lease agreement or a utility bill, and go to Ms. McCoy with that, and she can complete a help desk ticket to make that change. If it's a phone number or email change, I can do those. If you can just have them sign, change it, and put it back in your folder. If they only have 1 or 2 numbers listed, it's a good idea to get some additional numbers, for example, non-household relationships or anyone else that they feel comfortable listing. The more numbers we have, the better, in case of an emergency or if we need to reach somebody. Strengths and concerns. If you have a student that you're particularly concerned about, if you could please look up who their advisor is and shoot them a quick email, let them know what the situation is so that the advisor can share that information on the day of the conference. If you know the student you're conferencing with, if you teach them, it's also a nice opportunity to share some good information with the parent, some anecdotal information that you have. It's our highest turnout for our parents, so it's a good opportunity to share as much information as possible with them. By parent information, we've already gone over their information. This is not what I mean here. What I mean is information like PSP, 21st Century, clubs, things that you can involve the student in. Once again, because we have such a high turnout for our conferences, for our fall conferences in particular, it's a good time to give parents as much information as possible while they're here. And lastly, our Title I requirements. There is a lot of information that is required to go out during our fall conferences, and I know it's awkward to give parents all these pamphlets with a lot of EduSpeak on them and ask them to sign off that they received it. But it is one of our Title I requirements, and we do like to keep in compliance with Title I. It's what pays for programs such as PSP, extra teachers in our classroom, and extra materials. So it's important that we do comply. So you will receive in your folders the parental engagement plan and your parent compacts, and they look something like the thing up in your right-hand corner. We will have copies printed in Spanish as well as in English. We will try to include the Spanish copies only with the advisees whose parents speak Spanish. So if you don't receive any and know that you need some, please let me know. You will receive 2 copies of the acknowledgement that the parent received it. One will be on colored paper, which is the one that the parents will sign and you will put back in the folder. And one is a white copy, and the parents can take that one home. Please put all the signed copies back in the folder. What can you expect at your conferences? As I've mentioned, you're going to receive a folder with a lot of documents and information in it. You will receive that as close as possible to the conference time because the information needs to be up to date. So there's a lot of information being pulled from a lot of places. I will try to give those to you as soon as possible. You will also need a sign-in sheet in your room. You're only going to need one, and those will be in your folders. I am linking it here in case you, for some reason, need an additional one. This is a really important document. You only need to have your advisees or the people that you're scheduled to conference with sign in on this one. But you will be turning this document in to Ms. Link. We will use this information to find out what percentage of our students we conferenced with, and we do need to turn this into the district. So it is an important piece of paper that you need to keep up with. It's also a good idea to maybe set up a chair or an area for your parents outside to wait. That way, if your conference runs over, if you have surprise parents that drop in on you, you can still conference in private with the parents that you are scheduled to conference with at that time, while your other parents can wait comfortably. And because some parents do like to go see other teachers, not necessarily just the advisee, or the advisor, I'm sorry, it is important that you stay in or near your room during your conferences. A couple of special circumstances: if your advisee has a case manager, then the case manager is the person responsible for conferencing with that student. You should be receiving an email with that information shortly if you have not already done so. If you need an interpreter and you did not schedule one because you didn't realize you needed an interpreter, you can call the Parent Resource Center at extension 21245, and hopefully we will have somebody on call that can come assist you. If you have a parent that didn't show up for their conference, you can send a reschedule note, which is linked here. You can send that home with the student, and you can also try to follow up with a phone call and reschedule your conference. Please remember to document your conferences in PLP and also document any attempts to conference in PLP. If you're not able to conference at all, either in person or over the phone, and you're not able to make any contact with the parent, please fill out the referral form that I referenced earlier, which is linked again here for you. All right, so if you have any questions, I hope to answer those as I come around. If you could also please fill out this survey. This survey will serve as your sign-in sheet for today and also the confirmation that you were appropriately trained in Title I parent conferences, which I hope you feel like you were. If you have any questions, you can either fill them out on that survey or ask them as I come around. You can also email me or call me at any time with any suggestions, concerns, or questions. Thanks for listening. Hope you have some great conferences.